Hey there, I'm Paul Kaltenbach, live in Hell's Kitchen, New York City, and you're tuned to International Radio Report, 30 minutes of news about radio on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal.
Welcome, everyone, to the International Radio Report for Sunday, September the 21st, 2025. My name's Sheldon. I'm here with Gilles. We thank you for tuning in to us again this week. We have our usual 30 minutes of news and information of things going on in the world of radio. We have some interesting things, including a story about the upcoming 2026 World Radio TV Handbook. So stay tuned for that. Getting a story that's getting a lot of reaction from DX hobbyists around the world. So we'll get things going with a local story. Gilles, you found this story in the Presse newspaper this week.
Yep, a big name in Montreal and Quebec media, television and newspaper and radio. René Homier-Roy has passed away at age 85. He actually was on the radio for a long time, starting with a co-host back in 1980. He was on CKVL, the station on 850 AM, with Pierre Bourgault. Then, of course, became the voice of the CBC of French, which is Radio-Canada Première Chaîne. He was actually the morning man from 1998 to 2013. For a long time, pretty much number one show that people were listening in the morning. It was very popular. And he continued in 2013 with another show that he called Culture Club. He actually left. We had a story on this earlier this year where he was taking his retirement and actually never went through all to the end of the Culture Club show, which ended in June, because he suddenly got too sick to continue. But he did do a pre-recorded message because he wanted to have, the last words of the last show of Culture Club to thank everybody for listening. And I guess it was a bit of a surprise, but then again, at 85, anything can happen. So he passed away. And he was everywhere. He was even on TV. He was on TV shows. Great career and a lot of radio in there. So passed away at age 85.
Yeah, certainly a name that anybody who listened to French media in Quebec would know, and just not in Montreal, of course. No. The station based here in Montreal, but someone that was well known throughout the province for sure. We move to a story in the United States. Republicans plan bill to consolidate government-funded broadcasters. This is via Axios and Dan Robinson through Glenn Hauser's World of Radio IO Group. Republicans plan bill to consolidate government-funded broadcasters. Representative Young Kim, Republican of California, on Monday was set to introduce a new bill to consolidate government-funded broadcasters overseen by the embattled U.S. Agency for Global Media and give the State Department more control as a way to preserve their funding and continue their efforts to counter foreign disinformation. The bill aims to salvage decades-long efforts by government-funded broadcasters to provide news reports to countries with little or no access to independent reporting, while appeasing conservatives who think the U.S. AGM should be abolished. The bill aims to consolidate 3 U.S. AGM broadcasters: Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, Radio Free Asia, and the Middle East Broadcasting Networks, into one unified broadcaster that receives government funding through a State Department distributed contract, according to draft text reviewed by Axios. It doesn't provide a name for the proposed unified broadcast entity, but calls for the Assistant Secretary for the Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor at the State Department to become the issuer of its funding contract. The unified broadcasting unit would be governed by a single board, essentially eliminating the independent boards at each broadcaster, but the individual agencies would still be able to preserve their individual branding. Oversight of Voice of America, the largest government-funded broadcaster within USAGM, and the Office for Cuba Broadcasting would be transferred to the State Department's Office of Global Media within the Bureau of Global Public Affairs. The bill calls for all broadcasters to receive the same amount of funding as they are currently appropriated by Congress. The bill, titled the Information Warfare Modernization Act of 2025, has a few Republican co-signers, including Representative Joe Wilson of South Carolina, James Moylan, and Alma Amata Coleman, a Radwagon, delegates to Guam and American Samoa. The proposal would essentially kill USAGM and transfer more power and control over U.S. government-funded broadcasters to the administration. Such an effort is likely to face legal scrutiny, as it would challenge the existing firewall meant to protect independent broadcasters, like the VOA, from government influence. There have been several lawsuits waged against the administration by government-funded broadcasters and their employees, alleging the executive branch has overreached in its efforts to dismantle USAGM, a congressionally appropriated agency. The administration has looked to continue firing USAGM employees despite legal setbacks. Most recently, a U.S. district judge ruled in August that USAGM advisor Carrie Lake's efforts to remove VOA director Michael Abramowitz was unlawful. While Kim's bill would certainly challenge some of the independence of government-funded broadcasters, it does aim to preserve their funding as adversaries overseas try to fill an information gap left by the gutting of those news agencies. Every time we fail to speak the truth, our adversaries fill the void. We cannot hand the microphone over to China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, Kim said in a statement. This bill allows our trusted broadcasting partners to continue critical coverage of human rights abuses and repression in countries where it is suppressed, while ensuring that every taxpayer dollar effectively advances U.S. national security interests. If we don't preserve this critical channel of influence, we risk losing hearts and minds around the world. VOA was created more than 80 years ago to combat Nazi propaganda during World War II. Its mission to promote democracy and American interest abroad through fact-driven journalism has been supported for many years by both Republicans and Democrats. President Trump looked to defund the USAGM in his first term, but his efforts were stymied by legal challenges. In recent years, Republicans have taken aim at USAGM, formerly the Broadcasting Board of Governors, arguing those agencies were mismanaged. Kim hopes her new bill will address the logistical, operational, and editorial issues that limited VOA's effectiveness under USAGM by bringing it under the State Department in support of U.S. public diplomacy, her office said in a statement. So does this mean VOA is coming back? I'm not really sure about that. They talk about the other agencies being under one umbrella, but VOA is kind of, mentioned in a different breath. So I'm not really sure what that all means.
Yeah, it's a complicated story here because Voice of America staff also, we know that a lot of the staff has started moving away and finding jobs at other media or other agencies. And you're kind of wondering, but with all the people now gone, the longer it takes, the less you'll have all of these people available to do whatever you want to do. So there's something happening. There's maybe some form of broadcast they want to put back up. But is it Voice of America in some way? We're not really sure about that.
Just have to wait and see what surfaces. But certainly it's encouraging to see that they've actually now mentioned that if something like VOA is not there, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea don't hesitate to jump in on frequencies that are made vacant.
So in our next story, we have all amateur radio licenses in Equatorial Guinea that are temporarily suspended. And this is via DX World and Ham Radio World. DX World has reported that the government of Equatorial Guinea has temporarily suspended all amateur radio licenses. The reason is alleged irregularities in the licensing process, where safety checks and technical specifications were allegedly not correctly adhered to. The trigger is the current case of Latvian radio amateur Juris, YL2GM, who, along with Eugene, EA5EL, is accused of allegedly using unapproved radio frequency technology in sensitive areas as part of the planned DXPEDITION 3 Charlie Zero Whiskey to the island of Annobon. Despite his previous DXPEDITION in 2018 and current license, for which he made payments totaling 531 francs CFA, approximately 810 euros, he encountered massive problems when attempting to go on the air from Annobon. Ultimately, the two radio amateurs returned to the island last week without having accomplished anything. Before flying to Annobon, they were active for a few days from Equatorial Guinea under the call sign 3 Charlie 3 Whiskey and were also easily received in Bonn. Vice President Nguema Obiang-Mang, together with the Prime Minister, Defense, Security, and Financial Authorities, as well as the Regulatory Authority, or RTTY, chaired the meeting in which the measure was approved. This means that a very rare opportunity to receive DXCC Annobon has unfortunately been lost until further notice. So something happened, something that they didn't like, some form of operation that they deemed was not legal in some way. Well, until anything is fixed and everything comes back to accepting amateur radio operation, I guess we'll have to wait. The DXPEDITION guys did say that they hope to be back next year and finally go to Annobon, so hopefully everything will be cleared up by then.
It's interesting, though, that they've chosen to suspend all amateur radio in the country. I don't know how many hams there might be in Equatorial Guinea, but would the actions of this particular DXPEDITION have affected, or should it have affected, all amateur radio in the country? It's a little odd. They do say it was operating in sensitive areas. So again, you're not really sure what they mean by that, but maybe there's places they went that they really didn't want people going. I don't know. We may never know.
Maybe it's just they've suddenly woken up and said, oh, look at that, these radio signals can go there.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They didn't know before.
Who knows?
So what's happening with our sun? Well, our sun this week was, in general, rather quiet. There was some G1, G2 class geomagnetic storm that did happen at the beginning of the week, but it kind of, went quiet. I went to a small, what I call urban DXPEDITION to Perry Island, and I can say that propagation on Wednesday was really amazing. I was getting weak signals from far away, a lot of Asian signals. China Radio International in English, easy copy on several frequencies. It was really, really nice to see the propagation being that good. And it kind of stayed like that for the rest of the week. Now, what's happening is that there is a rather, in general, quiet conditions, but there's a couple of sunspots that have what it takes to flare. So if that happens, it could change the propagation conditions. Sunspot number 119, solar flux 150. So to witness all of the propagation changes, well, you just got to turn on the radio and listen.
This is Jeff Eichner of Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, United States of America. Listen to the International Radio Report every Sunday morning at 10:30 on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal.
Next, we have an item from Reporters Without Borders. If you don't know anything about Reporters Without Borders, I'd recommend going to their website and checking it out regularly. rsf.org is their website. Lots of information on what's happening in different parts of the world to journalists in those areas. And they give a lot of really good detailed information. This story in particular is about 9 journalists who have been liberated in Belarus. 9 Belarusian journalists have been released after spending months and in some cases years in prison. Among them are Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty contributor Ihar Losik, detained since June of 2020, as well as several journalists from the Poland-based exiled television channel Belsat TV. Irina Slonikowa, arrested October 2021, Larissa Shishrakova, December 2022, Johan Merkis, September 22, and Vyacheslav Lazaro, February 2023. 33 other media professionals are still behind bars in that country. So a country we don't hear a lot about, particularly the focus of a leader in that country that is, I guess up there with the ranks of Putin. So it was good to hear that at least 9 of them are out of there, but still many, many more behind bars. So check out the website, Reporters Without Borders. It's broken down quite often by country as to what's going on, and they update news stories from those countries and how the various journalists are being treated. So it's a really, really good website to stay on top of.
So we have news of the 80th World Radio TV Handbook, and that news sparks a lot of discussion because it will be the last printed edition. So they actually issued an important message to the WRTH community. And of course, this comes from WRTH. As we approach the publication of the 80th edition of the World Radio TV Handbook, the 2026 edition, we find ourselves at both a moment of celebration and of change. For 8 decades, WRTH has been a constant companion to radio listeners, broadcasters, and enthusiasts worldwide. We know that many of you treasure the annual arrival of the printed book, and it is with great care and reflection that we share the following news. WRTH 2026 will be the last edition to appear in print. After this milestone 80th edition, WRTH will move entirely to digital formats. Our regularly updated web app and the twice-yearly ebook winter and summer schedules. This is not a decision we have taken lightly. The printed WRTH has been part of the identity of our community, and we understand what it means to see it come to a close.
Over the past years, the cost of producing WRTH in print have risen sharply. Printing, paper, tariffs, shipping, and logistics have all become increasingly expensive and difficult to manage. Despite our best efforts to absorb these pressures, continuing to publish in print on a yearly basis is no longer sustainable. In order for WRTH to survive as a publication and continue serving the global broadcasting community, we must adapt. The WRTH 2026 printed book will be available exclusively through pre-order, with delivery scheduled for December 2025. There will be no launch stock or reprints. Once pre-orders close, the book will not be available again. This makes WRTH 2026 a true collector's edition, our final tribute in print to 80 years of the world's most comprehensive and up-to-date guide to broadcasting.
So pre-orders will open on Wednesday, September the 24th, 2025, and close on Friday, October 31st, 2025. Please watch our communication channels for the official announcement and subscribe to our newsletter to always stay up to date at wrth.info/newsletter. Moving forward, WRTH will be available in 2 formats: the WRTH web app updated through the year with the most current data, and the WRTH ebook, released twice a year to cover winter and summer schedules. We believe this transition will allow WRTH to remain relevant, accessible, and sustainable while providing you with more up-to-date information than print has ever allowed.
To reflect the realities of production and to keep WRTH alive in its new form, prices for 2026 are as follows. The printed book version will be 59.90 euros, excluding shipping. The 2026 web app will be 47.9 euros, and the ebook winter and summer editions also 47.9 euros. Please note that these prices are set in euro. Currency conversion applies at the point of purchase for all other currencies. Shipping costs will remain similar to last year, varying by region, with WRTH continuing to subsidize rates in some areas. We know these changes may be difficult to accept, especially for those who have collected the printed WRTH for many years. Please know that this was not an easy decision for us to make. It comes from a deep responsibility to ensure that WRTH not only celebrates its remarkable past, but also secures its future. We are grateful beyond words for your loyalty and support and for the place you have given WRTH in your lives. As we turn the page together, we hope you will join us in celebrating the WRTH 2026, the final printed volume and a lasting collector's item, and in embracing the new digital editions that will carry WRTH into the years ahead. If you have other questions, please visit our FAQs for quick, clear answers and support. Not a big surprise.
No.
I think some people even thought it would have come earlier than this, but I guess they wanted to get to number 80. It is a landmark, to reach 80 years of publication. I look up above me here on the bookshelf and I see a lot of copies of World Radio TV Handbook sitting up there. I think the first one I ever got was back in the early 1980s, I think, probably. And I've had them, every year since. But as we were talking before the show, things change and so many other things have gone this route. So it's really not all that surprising. The cost of producing a book like this must be astronomical.
I always thought they should have done this earlier, actually, to have at least both for a certain amount of time. If you want to have it, through ebook. I prefer ebook for many reasons. First of all, you can have a lot of books in a tablet, so, it doesn't weigh a ton. But the big advantage of having the ebooks also is easy to search. There's always a very easy little icon for search. Quickly get what you want. But also, as I get older, and books today, to try to make them smaller, they print smaller. And so it's kind of harder to read. So you can, of course, in a ebook form, have the ability to zoom in on the text and make it easier. I was on the Facebook page of WRTH, and I started reading the comments, and there's a lot of unhappy people. There's a lot of happy people. There's a lot of people that don't understand why books cost so much, but printed matter costs a fortune. Even just look at manuals in our, radio hobby. They just give you a very small manual with just, 10 pages. And then they say, well, if you want to have more, go to our website. We have a big manual in PDF form, because printed matter costs too much money to actually make. So, yes, it will be a collector's edition. That's definitely the case. And all I can say is I will be happy to get my ebook.
Over the years, our Canadian International DX Club has purchased books for our members that wanted a copy. We will do that again for the final edition. We're not quite sure what the cost is going to be. It's going to be quite high. I can tell you that right now. And for a number of years, WRTH was actually shipping the books out for us and not charging us for the shipping. That's not going to happen either now. So if you are a CIDX member, we will be sending out a notice to all of our members. If you do want a copy of this publication, the final one, we will have to get our order in by the October 31st deadline. But be prepared. It is going to be expensive. The shipping costs of this book in the past have been, substantial. So we will get all the details from WRTH and put that information into our notice that we'll be sending out. If you're not a CIDX member, you're going to have to, find maybe your own club might do it. Maybe you're just going to have to order your own copy individually. It's there are, as you said, there are some people that are upset about it, but I won't have to make more room on my shelf up there. It's already full. I have to squeeze things in there. So, but I think I'll probably get a final copy myself. We move forward, as does WRTH.
So we have upcoming amateur radio events, actually a big contest.
Yeah, the first one is a contest coming up. We mention this every year. It is the CQ Worldwide DX Contest, the RTTY portion, though. It's from 0000 UTC or Zulu September 27th to 2359 Zulu September the 28th. It's organized by CQ Magazine. The objective is for amateurs around the world to contact as many other amateurs in as many CQ zones, countries, and U.S. and Canadian locations as possible. It'll be on 5 bands, 3.5, 7, 14, 21, and 28. They want you to observe the established band plans, and they strongly encourage that. The mode, radio teletype, RTTY. So a little bit special if you're into radio teletype. If you're not, just tune the bands next weekend and you're going to hear a lot of noise in the radio teletype portions. It's a very recognizable sound that you'll be hearing.
Anyone that is dabbling or starting with digital modes, this is actually a perfect time to get the hang of it, of decoding RTTY. So this is something you should try. And that observance that they want everybody to do is every year is the same thing. It's like the RTTY goes way out of the frequency ranges they usually are because there's just too many stations together. Our DXPEDITIONS, we have UGANDA Pista, Hotel Alpha 5 Alpha Oscar will be operating as 5 X-Ray to India between September 29th and October 10th. Activity will be from 80 to 6 meters using CW, SSB, and FT8.
Ogasawara, Masatoshi, Juliet Quebec 3, Juliet Uniform Kilo, will be operating using his call /Juliet Delta 1 between September the 27th and October the 2nd. Operations are from 160 through 6 meters, but it will only be in FT8, so no voice communications for this particular operation.
And we have the Seychelles celebrating 50 years in amateur radio this year. Casimir Delta Lima 2 Sierra Bravo Yankee informs DX World that he will be again active from the Seychelles as Sierra 79 / Delta Lima 2 Sierra Bravo Yankee during September 28th to October 12th, 2025. It'll be on all the HF bands with a focus on 6 meters using a 5-element Yagi. And so we are out of time.
Thank you for tuning in to us today. We thank you for being there every week. We have 30 minutes of news and information, as much as we can squeeze into 30 minutes. So if you have any interesting information or questions about the show, you want to send along a story, you can do so at radioreport@yahoo.com, our email address. Our show is live streamed and archived at ckut.ca. Our Facebook group, International Radio Report, we invite you to join the group. And to listen to our show at your convenience, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@IRR. We invite you to subscribe to the channel. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you again next Sunday here on the International Radio Report on CKUT 90.3 FM in Montreal. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.